All right, everybody, welcome to another What's on Dave's Shelf video. And as you can see, this is going to be a long video. This is my favorite series in basic Dungeons and Dragons. This is the Gazetteer series and everything related to the basic Dungeons and Dragons Gazetteer line. I mean, this is... Okay, first off, I'm going to start way back. I was already hooked on Dungeons and Dragons. I was already hooked. I love the cartoon. I couldn't wait for it to come on Saturdays. When it stopped coming on, I was just destroyed by it. But now I look back and say, what the hell did I like about that cartoon so much? But anyway, I was a dumb kid. So, I mean, seriously, I was already hooked on D&D. But when I got my hands on this first book, The Grand Duchy of Kerameikos, I mean, this book has a built-in tractor beam because it just sucked me right in. I mean, it just sucked me right in. It took my addiction for Dungeons and Dragons to a whole nother level, man. I mean, I loved everything about all of these gazetteers, and you know, there's total of 14 gazetteers, 15 with the box set for Alphatia and Thyatus. I mean, of course they weren't all out at the same time. I mean, these came out over a number of years, but man, this first one that came out, the Grand Duchy, holy cow. I loved because I've always been a history major, right? So I loved reading about, you know, the history of Kerameikos, how it became Kerameikos, you know, all of the lore involved, the politics, the key players, you know, about everyday society, the economy of Kerameikos, the geography. I mean, everything I loved about this book. And it just made my addiction. It just took it to a whole nother level, like I said. You know, and another great thing about the Gazetteers, I'm going to kind of touch on all of the Gazetteers right now. The Gazetteers added a lot to the game, much like, you know, you have the Creature Crucibles line as well. The Creature Crucibles line added a lot. But the Gazetteers came out, I think the Gazetteers were already done by the time 90 came around or something like that. What is the Atruaghin Clans? I got to look at the date really quick on this. The last one came out in around, 1991. So this was right around the time of the Challenger series when the Gazetteer line ended and, you know, everything else. Then the world, you know, went to hell, the Immortals destroyed it, etc. But yeah, in all these books, this added so much. And there's about 100 pages. So there's 1,400 pages plus the box set, which has 3 more books in it. So there's probably about 1,500 pages of lore on the entire known world. I mean, it's amazing how D&D coordinated this and put it together. It's just amazing, and I loved it. And, you know, the Gazetteers, like I said, it added so much to basic D&D. This is where the skill system came in with, you know, the first Gazetteer. It introduces the skill check system as an optional thing for your D&D characters. It added so many more. Each book, I won't say every book, but just about every single book added more classes into D&D. And I'm going to talk about these classes, and I'll mention the classes as I go through these Gazetteers. But like I said, optional skills and the classes were huge for basic D&D, and basically the core 7 or 8 classes that it had at the time. And then with the optional skills, the new spells that some of these Gazetteers introduced, man, awesome. And like I said, this took my addiction to D&D to a whole nother level, because my dad got me into history as a young kid, with the V for Victory, naval black and white tapes that he had, and all his home videos of him being in the Navy and in the Korean War, and everything with the Cuban Missile Crisis. It was that I just loved history. So reading, even though this is fantasy, it was like reading history to me, and I absolutely loved it. So I have so many Gazetteer products we need to go through. But this is all of the Gazetteer products that I know of. I don't know of anything that I'm missing. So if I'm missing anything, please leave me a comment down there below. But I think I have everything. So the first thing I want to talk about are the 2 Poor Wizard Almanacs. And I did not have these. Now, I remember these being out, but I never purchased them. And the reason why I didn't purchase them is because in this first Poor Wizard's Almanac, I read that Mystara was destroyed by the Immortals. And I didn't like that, because it basically made all my gazetteers obsolete. And I love these gazetteers so much, and there's so many pages. I mean, look at this. Look at how this is 14 gazetteers right there. There's 1,000 plus pages of 1,000 plus pages of information, plus the box set right here. And for these 2 little paperbacks take over the entire gazetteer line, I'm like, I didn't want to buy them, so I didn't. And I'll tell you what, I regret not buying those, because when I looked at everything that I had for basic D&D, I didn't have the Wrath of the Immortals box set. I didn't have that. And I didn't have the Champions of Mystara box set. And I didn't have these 2. So I had to buy those if I wanted to complete. And I'm like, well, I'm so close, I might as well go ahead and buy these 4 things and just finish everything, and then I'll have everything. So I regret not buying these. These were $10 at the time. And these books were super expensive. I'm not even going to say how much, but they were pretty much almost 3 figures a book. And the reason why they're so expensive is because they still have the new Gazetteer maps, and that's why they were so expensive. So I got these from a game store. Actually, it was a vendor at El Paso Con, and he has a store in Arizona, so I basically bought those, and it's the same guy that I got the empty boxes from my BECMI box set. So, but this basically just talks about how the Immortals destroyed Mystara, changed Underworld, etc. And these are the 2 basic D&D books. Now, I know that there is a 3rd Poor Wizard's Almanac. This is one, I believe isn't that no, that's not Brunor Battlehammer. That's Wolfgar, isn't it? I think that's Wolfgar on the front. I don't know who this is, but I think that's Wolfgar. If I'm maybe not. But anyway, there's 3 Wizard Almanacs, and the first 2 are for basic Dungeons and Dragons. And the 3rd one is the Poor Wizard's Almanac for 2nd edition. So I didn't need that because I don't play 2nd edition. So I went ahead and just picked up the first 2. And like I said, this has everything, all of the new locations and stuff like that for Mystara post Immortals destruction of the world. So yeah, I don't think I would ever use these, because as a kid, I loved reading the Gazetteers. So, and I've read most of these Gazetteers from front to back, and I love these books so much that I wouldn't go with the new Gazetteer. So that's just my humble opinion. And I don't think I'd ever use the Wrath of the Immortals box set, because it talks about the destruction of the known world. So here's another couple of rare items that I guess I've been told these are pretty rare. These are the Every one of these Gazetteer books, all 14 books and the box sets, have maps. And these are huge 8-panel maps. So if I were to take every single map out of these, put them together, and frame it, it would be the size of my wall, and it would probably tear down the wall. But I would almost be willing to do that because I love Mystara and the known world so much. I think it would be awesome to do something like that. But that would take a lot of work. I'd have to destroy the maps and probably cut them and, piece them together. So I don't know if I could have the heart to do that. But these are the maps kind of shrunk down a little bit, and they've basically cut it to the east and west. And I've only opened these up a couple of times, and I got these. These are from around 18, back in my day, but these are around 1989. And these were $3.95. Yeah, the Eastern countries was $3.95, and the Western countries is $5.95. I don't know why it's difference. I mean, they're the same size. I mean, these maps are 36 inches by 57 inches. So that's what? 3 feet by like 6 feet? I mean, these are like insane maps. Put together, it would be like a 6 foot by like 12 foot map, or close to 12. I mean, unbelievable. But these are all of the maps that are in the Gazetteers. And this is just, it's so massive, man. I don't even want to try to fold this apart. Oh, it has such a musky smell. It's got that new car smell, everybody. But look at that. It's like, and it's like folded over twice. I mean, I don't even want to take this thing apart. But anyway, this thing is so massive. Like I said, each one of these is 36 by 57. So you figure both of these put together are 72 by 114. Holy crap, is that not a big map? But like I said, all of these Gazetteers had maps, but supposedly these are pretty rare. But they're so cheap. Man, I spent what, $5.95 and $3.95. I mean, I remember unfolding that on the table, and my dad was saying, "Get that shit off my table," because I was like moving his stuff over to put the map on there because I needed some place to look at this. And I remember my dad saying, "Get that shit off my table." Too good. All right, so next let's take a look at Dawn of the Emperors. This is the box set. This actually came out later. I remember this wasn't even out when the Gazetteers first started coming out. But yeah, this box is in pretty good shape. It's got a little bit of, I used to lay everything on top of one another, so that's why it's kind of concave a little bit. But now I stand everything up so it doesn't do that. But this is the Dawn of the Emperors box set. This is Thyatis and Alphatia. Thyatis is like the Roman Empire, very warlike. They want to take over the entire, known world. And then you have Alphatia, which is more peaceful, and they are, more around magic. And in fact, if you don't cast magic, you're like put into slavery as labor and stuff. So yeah, Alphatia is pretty wicked too. So this box set has a ton of stuff, man. This box set has 3 books, and it has new rules for aerial combat, new spells for building flying creations like castles, ships, and islands. It has 2 32-page gazetteers for Thyatis and also for Alphatia. So and there's 5 maps, I think, as well, 4 or 5 maps. So I mean, there's just so much content in here. So here's a Dungeon Master source book with all of the different, like flying rules and stuff like that. This has gazetteer information as well on Theodos and Alphatia. So, and then here's, new character sheets and stuff like that. Appendices. It's got adventures. Oh yeah, it's got adventures in there too. How to create a campaign. Brief information on all the territories and stuff. The Isle of Dawn also. There's new monsters, all the key players, and all of their stats. So that's the 128-page book. And then here's... gotta get that put in the box right. Then here's book 1, or book 2. This is the Theodos Player's Guide. And this adds all kinds of different... And I actually wrote in this a little bit too. I remember writing in it. So yeah, you can play different characters. There's new characters and stuff in here. So yeah, talks all about the Theodos calendar. And then with the box set, this added a new class, which was called the Rake. And I believe the Rake was sort of like a gladiator because, like I said, Theodos is like super warlike. And so there was a new class in here, and it was called the Rake. So I believe it was like a thief or gladiator or something like that. And then here's new skills and stuff like that. And then here's all the big name gladiators and stuff like that. And then there's some optional armor rules and optional damage rules as well. So that's book 2 for Theodos. And then here's book 3, Alphatia. And this has, everything that the other book has too. There's also, what I remember about this expands on the magic user class. And it expands with like new spells and a couple of new things that I believe there was some kind of like skill set. Without going too far into this and really trying to dig and look, I believe there was something for magic users where there was like a skill system to where they could speed up their casting and stuff like that. So there were some other little perks that magic users could actually do. So this was book 3 of Alphatia. And then here's all the maps that it came with as well. So this is what? This is the Empire of Alphatia. So, and this is an 8-panel map, and it opens up into a very tall map. So that's nice. Here's a map of the city of Sunsval. And then this has a lot of this is the Isle of Dawn. So this map is the Isle of Dawn. So it has all that in there. And then there were some other maps. I think it was... Where's his other maps? I got them. But there's like Theodos and stuff as well. So, yeah. So I think they were... Yeah, it's in here. So there's 2 other maps as well. One on Theodos and then when it connects to Kerameikos. So yeah, there's quite a bit that is in this box set, which is really nice. Really, really nice. This added a lot. Because, a lot of the modules and stuff in basic D&D, they always talked about Theodos and stuff like that. But there was never anything to... there was never anything to put the adventures to where this is and stuff like that. So, yeah. So this is Theodos. This is the Theodos and Alphatia box set. And this came out later. This is from 19... I think it's about 80. Yeah, this is 89, actually. So this came out pretty late. So, yeah, there you go. That's the Gazetteer box set. Now, here's another cool thing. I didn't even know that I had an extra box set. So, I do have an extra box set. It's complete, book 1, 2, and 3, with the maps. So, maybe I'll do a giveaway and give away a a Gazetteer box set. That would be pretty cool. So I think doing a giveaway might be pretty good. So check out, just keep an eye on my social media stuff for the actual giveaway. So now here we are. Here's the meat of the Gazetteer line. So there's not only is there the box set that came out in 1989, there's also the 14 massive Gazetteer books as well. And I have all of the Gazetteers, and man, I made sure that I was always, dude, I would go every week. I would go up to Walden Books to make sure I had everything. And all of these Gazetteers, I mean, these were like $10 a piece. So for $10, man, it was like awesome sauce. it was awesome. All right, so I'm going to start opening up these Gazetteers, and I'm going to start showing you guys. But like I said, Gazetteer 1, oh my gosh. This has a built-in tractor beam, man. Being, I've always liked history and stuff, and when I saw this Grand Duchy of Kerameikos, I was like, what is this? I didn't even know what Gazetteer meant. I had no clue what Gazetteer meant. And when I looked it up and I saw all these colored maps and, the Grand Duchy of Kerameikos, because by this time, I had box set 2, which was the expert box set. And remember, in the expert box set, it talks about Kerameikos, the capital of, Kerameikos, which is Specularum. It talked about all this. But then when I saw the Grand Duchy of Kerameikos, I said, oh my God, what is a Gazetteer? And then when I started reading, I'm like, oh my God, this is everything that expands on box set 2. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And it sucked me in like a tractor beam. And I thought I was addicted to Dungeons and Dragons before, but man, reading this book, dude, I remember staying up at night and because my parents were like, all right, lights out, 10 o'clock, you're out. And if they saw your light on or anything, or my dad would come in, and my dad was an old school baby boomer. And man, my dad was ruthless. And, if he caught us up, we'd get beat up. But because he wanted us to do well in school. But anyway, yeah, I miss my dad. My dad died in 2007, and there's not a day that goes by where I don't think about my dad. And so yeah, my dad would kick our ass if we were up. So what I would do is I would take a flashlight and I would put the covers over my head, and I put the flashlight in my mouth, and I looked down at the book so I could turn the pages and read and everything. So I never got caught or anything like that. And if I thought they were walking down the hallway, I would take the flashlight out of my mouth, turn it off, and then like fake that I was sleeping and stuff. So yeah. But man, yeah, there you go. There's the Grand Duchy of Kerameikos. And like I said, all of these maps that are in all of these different Gazetteers are on these trail maps. And these trail maps, these things are huge. These two maps put together would be 6 foot by basically almost 12 feet. I would love to put these together and put them in a picture frame and put them on my wall. That would just be amazing, wouldn't it? Maybe I might do that later on in the future. So yeah, so what the trail maps do, they take every one of these maps and all of the Gazetteers and they put them together. And holy cow. And then it has, each one of these big maps also has like main towns and cities that are in the region that it talks about as well. And this book, I've read this probably twice. But this is all about the history, how Kerameikos became Kerameikos, and with the migration of Theodos, because Theodos basically took this land from the savages, and then it became the Grand Duchy, etc. I'm not going into a Gazetteer history lesson, but I mean, this is an amazing book. It has everything. Like I said, all of these books has everything to do with the region's everything: history, lore, politics, society, economy, geography, key players, fully static key players. And I'll show you the Orc Warlord of Thar. Oh my goodness, he is a beast. And it has everything. Everything for this region is in this book, and it's just awesome. Everything about military, everything. It's awesome. I love these books. There's all the different crest of the different houses and stuff. It has all the armies for like mass combat and stuff. I mean, that's just Gazetteer 1. This is probably one of my top, I'm going to say this is one of my top 3 favorite books of all time. Just because what it means to me as a kid. Because, man, I'm telling you guys, the Grand Duchy of Kerameikos, built-in tractor beam, this module was the shit. Man, yeah, it's awesome. I love Kerameikos. Here's part 2, the Emirates of Ylaruam. And this is, and you know, another thing that I didn't touch on that I probably should have was, this reminded me a lot. The Grand Duchy of Kerameikos, this reminded me of like Europe, like medieval time Europe is how I always thought of the Grand Duchy of Kerameikos. You know, everything mixed into one, like England, France, Germany, how everything was like sort of like feudalistic with lords and everything. So yeah, this had like a European type of theme. God, I love that. It's probably my favorite book. Yeah, definitely top 3, if not my favorite. Here's the Emirates of Ylaruam. This has a theme of like, obviously you can tell it's like a Middle Eastern theme. And it has a map as well. And this is a one-page book. The early gazetteers had just one book. So here's all kinds of maps and stuff on the cover. And here's a big map of the Emirates, which Emirates are each little like a pocket of people. So, you know, here's a different Emirates. It's sort of like countries, but they're just called, you know, Middle Eastern term is Emirates. So there you go. And then this has everything else that I'm not going to keep repeating it, the politics, the lore, the history, but this has everything related to, you know, Ylaruam. And then the cool thing about this is not only did it add another class like the Rake from Gazetteer 1, Kerameikos, but in this it added a dervish, which the dervish was kind of like a sort of like a desert type of druid. So yeah, that was really cool. And another thing about all of these, you know, that I forgot to mention, the gazetteers, it talks about all of the different other areas of the known world and how they relate to them. So are they friendly? Are they foes? Do they war? Or whatever. But this has everything. It has adventures in it. All the, you know, map keys for the adventures and all of the special places on the map, all of the lore. And like I said, this has the dervish, which the dervish is, you know, it's like a desert druid. So, you know, that was pretty cool to see something like that. So here's Gazetteer 3. This is Gazetteer 3, which is the Principalities of Glantri. And this was like, I always thought this was like an Asiatic theme. And this has one book as well. Like I said, the early gazetteers, they only had one book. But all these books are 95 to 100 pages, you know, long. So here we're 3 gazetteers in, and we already got 300 pages of lore for the known world, which is just amazing. So here's another map. I'm glad all these maps are in good shape. Maybe I might take those. You know what I'm thinking about? Taking these to maybe a framing company and asking how much it would cost to frame those. I'm sure it'd probably be a couple $100, but I would love to do that. So yeah, here's another fold out map of Glantri. And then this book as well has, Glantri is sort of like Alphatia, where magic is very heavy in this area and in this region. So I do know that there were a bunch of different schools of magic that were added, along with all the other stuff like, the lore and politics and everything else, key players, new monsters, guilds and stuff. I do remember that there was some options for mages as well, along with the adventures and everything else. So I believe you could make a witch and a necromancer. Let me see. I think it's back here. Yeah, so you could do alchemy. There was a Dracoologist, an elementalist, an illusionist, a necromancer, cryptomancy, and witches. So yeah, there were some options back there for that. So that's Gazatteer 3, the Principalities of Glantri. So this is by Bruce Hurd. I love Bruce Hurd, man. He was such a big contributor to basic Dungeons and Dragons, and he's very underrated. And what he did was amazing for this line of products. So Gazatteer 4, the Kingdom of Ierendi. This was like a seafaring area. And as I'm reading about this, and which is actually cool because this actually came with a cheat sheet, and the cheat sheets are rare to have when they're not all punched out and stuff. So I'm glad I never punched that out. I need to set that to the side. But yeah, there's a map with this, and you could do all of your seafaring battles and stuff like that. There's a huge map, actually. This is like an 8-panel map. And, you can see the Kingdom of Ierendi is all islands. But what I found that was really cool about Ierendi was I always thought that Ierendi was like TSR's version of like Tortuga and like Port Royal. Where all the pirates would go, and that's where all the shady dealings would be. That's where all the beer, that's where all of the, adultery was going. So I always thought that Ierendi was sort of like a Tortuga or maybe like a Port Royal type of theme. And there's all kinds of rules on ship combat in here as well. Obviously, because of the cheat sheet with all of the different ships from all of the different nations. And yeah, it was really cool. So yeah, there was a lot of combat. There were a lot of island adventures in here. Full Gazatteer, and I don't remember there being a class, a new class in here. I could be wrong, but I don't remember there being a new class. They've even got like a Hall of Fame of pirates. Look at that, Palfret. Hector Octavian. There you go. So yeah, there we go, man. Ierendi. Yeah, this is a cool one. I always thought that was like Port Royal, pirates and stuff like that. So next, here is the next Gazatteer, which is Gazatteer 5, even though it doesn't say Gazatteer 5. Yeah. Oh, and I have 2 of these, by the way, which I have no clue how I have 2 of these Gazatteers. So, like the box set, the extra box set that I have, maybe I might do a giveaway for the extra one, and it's complete as well. It has the maps and all that stuff. So maybe I'll do a giveaway. So keep an eye on my social media stuff. So the Elves of Alfheim. I mean, what do you think it obviously is? Obviously, this is the Woodlands of the Elves. This is the Elf Forest Nation, as it's called. And this expands greatly on the, and not all, here's, I'm just kind of showing stuff as I'm talking, but this has a lot of options for the elf. So in the, in the rule cyclopedia and in box set 1, the red box, the elf is sort of like a multi-classed fighter magic user without calling it that. But I do remember that the Elves of Alfheim, it adds a lot of options for the elves. So, the only thing that I wish that Wizards would have done. Ooh, my map's a little bit ripped. Yeah, my map is a little bit ripped, but it has, Alfheim Town. Here's a Sky City, sort of like Kelethin from EverQuest. If you ever played EverQuest, it has like the city that's in the trees and Fadark Forest, whatever. So yeah, but I'm surprised I can remember all this stuff. But yeah, here's the Kingdom of Alfheim, which is kind of pinned between like Darokin and Rockhome and Kerameikos. So, but yeah, pretty cool. But the Elves of Alfheim, it has new monsters like the Shadow Elves and stuff, which you'll see later on. Actually, quite a few monsters. It has a bunch of adventures. Here's the revised spell set for elf. You can actually be like an elf magic user now instead of just like an elf. You can be an elf magic user. And like I said, there's all kinds of, new skills for the elf that are just elf only, and all the different options and stuff for playing an elf, which is pretty cool. And of course, all of the lore and etc. So, the Elves of Alfheim. This is and Five Shires is there too on the southern border of Alfheim. So and these are all like 95-page books. This one's 96. So, there's 5 books so far, and there's almost 500 pages of lore. The Dwarves of Rockhome. I like this one as well. This is Gazatteer 6, even though it doesn't say it. They didn't put GAZ 5 or 6 for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if it was a printing error or what, but obviously you can tell what this is all about. This is all about the Dwarves of Rockhome and all about the dwarvish nation in the known world. And what this did as well, as I kind of show you guys this is nasty pink right here. Turn the light switch off. And here's the everything about Rockhome and that dwarven tunneling device, all that cool stuff. And this expanded greatly on dwarf options. So you could do a lot more with the dwarf than just be a fighter type of dwarf. And in fact, I believe that there was a dwarf cleric that was an option as well. So if you wanted to be a cleric in the starter box set, you were a human, because that's just what the cleric was. But this has a lot of new dwarf skills. And then I believe there was a dwarf cleric you could be too. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm almost positive. Key players and all that good stuff. Here's a Rockhome campaign. Adventure ideas. So let's check this to see if I could be a dwarf cleric. I believe it was. Yeah, these are awesome art, man. Characters 59. Let's go to 59. Oh no, these are all like the Doric and the Sons of Doric and stuff. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that you could be a dwarf cleric in here. So I'm pretty sure. I'd almost bet on it. So that was a G6, the Dwarves of Rockhome. Now here's another one. Here's Gazatteer 7 or GAZ 7. This is the Northern Reaches, and quite a few of the adventures are in the Northern Reaches. And starting with Gazatteer 7, there's more content now. So not only is there the cover, but there's now 2 books. So there's like a player's book, and then there's like the Northern Reaches book with everything else. And now you're starting to see, beautiful big combat maps of like not only, and they're double printed now, not only of the northern lands and the Northern Reaches, but now there's like whole villages and stuff that are like examples of what a village would look like. And then they even went that much further, and I never cut these out, which I'm glad I didn't, but here's like a town that you could create and put together, and then there's like tokens, like elf tokens, halfling tokens, trolls, thieves, other monsters, and so you could put this together and have like a 3D setup type of town. So yeah, and then there's 2 books here, and the Northern Reaches, this is like Viking lore to me. I mean, it's obvious, and it's just screaming Viking lore, and this has everything. With everything from the court of Newt to all the geography and everything to match the maps. So yeah, good stuff. Adventures and all that stuff. Then here's, now that they've broken this up into 2 books, so this is going to be 64 pages and then 32 pages for almost another 100-page book. Now, what this does is it has the society, but then it goes into playing Northmen's. So if you're going to play one of the 4 core classes, cleric, fighter, rogue, and thief, then you'll add the Northman stuff on top of your class. So, it's basically you're like adding a race. You're still kind of like a human, but you're like a Northman human. And then there's all kinds of like new skills and stuff like that for the Northmen. And then there's like, you can do backgrounds and stuff like that as well now. So this is really cool how they incorporated Viking lore into, creating with the core characters and the rule cyclopedia, all these, a Northman version of the cleric or a Northman version of the fighter. So, oh yeah, and then that's right, the runes as well. So these runes, they actually were like part of like magic, being the magic user. So you would have like runes and stuff too, which was really cool. So yeah, the Northern Reaches. This is when the gazetteers were starting to get more and more stuff and more fluff added into them. And the other gazetteers were, I believe, $10. And in all actuality, the price went down to $9.95. So, I mean, you're getting the same amount of combat, but you're getting some other cool stuff for 5 cents less, which was pretty cool. But that's when the Gazetteer started, making multiple books. So here's Gazatteer 8, which is the Five Shires. Just think where, Ed Greenwood did this. I wonder where Ed Greenwood was inspired to make the Five Shires. Maybe Lord of the Rings? But every, known world needs an area of the halflings. So this is what it's all about. It has 2 books. It has the Shire map. I think it has the map of all 5 Shires, actually. So we won't fold that out, though. But yeah, there it is right there, the 5 Shires. And then it has your player's book here. And the cool thing about the 5 Shires, or the Hobbits, I guess we could call them, there's a couple of new classes. And it talks all about, clan options and stuff. And with with the Five Shires, it added 2 new classes, like I mentioned. It added a master class, which is called the Master, and then it added, once you got a regular halfling, one of the demi-human halflings from the core, red box set or the rule cyclopedia, you could actually become a sheriff class. Sort of like the cleric at level 9 could become a druid. So the halfling at level 9 can become a sheriff. So I thought that was a really cool option, and the sheriff is actually really powerful. So if you can get the level 9 with a halfling, check out the sheriff. And yeah, here it is right here. Here's the master, which you can start at level 1, and it goes all the way to 36. And then here's new spells and stuff. And then it talks about all the spells with the master and stuff. So yeah, pretty cool. And then here's your lore book of the Five Shires. It has adventures in there. It has all of the locations. Here's the halfling heroes, etc. Those are pretty tall halflings, aren't they? Yep, there you go. New monsters. Wow, look at that. There's a Fey Wing, a Night Gleek, a Rock Fang, a Witch Lamp. There's some rules at the very back to adapt this to your AD&D game. Yeah. There's a campaign in here. What to do when you visit the Five Shires. Good stuff, man. I love these gazetteers. Gazatteer 8, GAZ8, the Five Shires. Ed Greenwood. So here's the Minrothad Guilds, and this was huge for us. The Minrothad Guilds this is like a merchant guild nation. I mean, this whole nation is it's about buying, selling, and goods and trade. And this has a new class in it. It's the merchant class. And I like that. In fact, I almost made a merchant. But the cool thing about this, and I want to open this up for you guys, is look at this. It has all of the trade routes. And this was what we used whenever we started getting up to about level 10 or 15, and we started getting our own lands and stuff. We started using these trade routes because on our lands we were producing, agriculture. We were creating, I believe Terry was creating wool and stuff like that. And yeah, this is awesome. So we incorporated all these trade routes into the known world, which was huge. And then, like I said, here's the 32-page player guide that added the merchant class, and then it talks about all of the guilds, the primary races, and stuff like that. So yeah, that was really cool. Law. So here we go. Here's the fold outs, and there's some advertisements and all the other different. Yeah. What is that? Oh, yeah, that's a totally different cover than what's all the. And another thing was all of these advertisements had different covers, and I'm like, oh wow, that's a new book. But then I'm reading, I'm like, oh no, that's just probably a placeholder image. So here's a bunch of adventures, all of the key players, and the clan leaders of all the big trade guilds and stuff. Here you go. Here's more information on the merchant. So you could take a merchant up to level 20. So that was a new class. It talks about piracy and all that stuff. Really cool. But I thought of this. I really didn't. I kind of thought of it as maybe another pirate nation, but it wasn't it's not it's nothing like Ierendi, where I thought, Ierendi, which was Gazetteer 4, I thought Ierendi was Port Royal before it was washed away with the, the tidal wave. But yeah, Minrothad Guilds, this is all about trade. And we use this because it has all the trade charts and everything, and the trade routes, which was awesome. Ugh. The goddamn Orcs of Thar. The Orcs of Thar. Well, this is a good one too. This is actually an amazing book, and this is still only $10. And the Orcs of Thar, boy, the Orcs of Thar. So this is the evil races nation, as how I called it. The evil races, orcs, kobolds, goblins. I mean, you could play every one of those evil races. I mean, it was amazing. And I'll kind of go through the books first. So here's the player's guide. And it talks all about the broken lands in the Orcs of Thar. Oh, that dude's picking his nose. I just noticed that for the first time in 30 years of owning this. This dude is picking his nose. Nice. Nice. I love those little subtle things that they put in imagery. So here you go, guys and gals. You could be a core class like cleric, fighter, thief, and magic user, but you could be a kobold, a goblin, an orc, a hobgoblin, a gnoll, a bugbear, an ogre, or a troll. I mean, how awesome is that? So you could play an evil race and play in, the Badlands if you wanted to. And here's everything about creating those characters. All kinds of new weapons, adapting to AD&D. I mean, amazing. New skills, new spells. And the Orcs of Thar. This is by Bruce Hurd as well. Man, Bruce Hurd was a machine in the D&D days. But here's all kinds of, adventures, campaigning, all of the main baddies for the orcs, and all the other, everyone else. Where's the orc? The orc lord is like ridiculous. I wouldn't try to attack him, even at level 20. I wouldn't attack him. But anyway, yeah, it opened up a lot of cool stuff. And then, not only did you get everything from the regular Gazatteer with the map and everything, but you also got an orc. It's what was the name of that? I think it was called Orc Wars, but it was a board game, and it had the rules for the board game. And here's the cheat sheet for it. And we wanted to play this so bad, but we never just got around to it. But the cheat sheet's complete as well. Smell that. Smells old. Smells like 30 years of oldness. But yeah, there's an Orc Wars board game with it as well for $10, man. Ugh, man, unbelievable. But anyway, that's GAZ 10, the Orcs of Thar. These, and I'll tell you a little story real quick, and I think I've talked about this as well. But when we started, we were probably about level 15 or 20 when we got our first dominion, our first bunch of lands that we had got. We had set up, with the previous Minrothad Guilds, we started establishing trade routes through all the other, we were trading with the Shire. I was sending, what was I sending down there? I think I was sending metal down there, and they were sending agriculture back to us. But I had a lot of people. I had a large standing army because I wanted a large standing army. So I had to make a lot of food. So I wasn't producing enough food, and I didn't want my people starving. So I was trading like weapons and metals and stuff like that, and also wood to the Five Shires, which was right to the south of me. And, my friend Terry was doing it, Gary was doing it, Franklin was doing it. And then we went to Undermountain. And then when we went to Undermountain, we were in Undermountain for real life time, at least a year and a half. Game time, probably several or 3 years. So when we get back to all of our lands, the damn Orcs of Thar and everyone else from the Broken Lands and the Badlands, they all went south and destroyed all of our kingdoms and dominions and stuff. So that was sort of like a big FU from our DM. And we didn't even know about it. Obviously, our stewards that in charge and the other people that were in charge of our kingdoms couldn't get a hold of us. Needless to say, we should have made some type of magical item, which I think Franklin did, but because of the way that Undermountain is, it's just a train wreck of a place to be. I think our DM gave him a chance for like a word of mouth to pop up spell or something like that to tell us that we're being raided, and then we could have just teleported there, but we never got word, and the Orcs of Thar destroyed all of our lands. Ugh! It was so heartbreaking. Because it was like, all that work was like for nothing. So here's the next Gazetteer, Gazetteer 11. This is the Republic of Darokin. This is also in quite a few of the modules. And I always thought of this as like the Palace of Versailles in France and other parts of medieval Europe and stuff. Probably in the Enlightenment period. So, Republic of Darokin, it definitely reminded me of like France and stuff. And then there's all kinds of new Darokin classes and stuff, which were on top of the 4 core classes. And then you could create a little village and have carts and stuff like that also. So that was kind of cool. Then here's your map of Darokin. I believe this is all the currency. And yeah, these are the coins. So there's the map. Oof, smell that. It smells musky. It smells like Sex Panther cologne. Works 60% of the time, all the time. So here's the player's guide. It has all of the options for creating your Darokin, thief, fighter, cleric, magic user. It has more trade routes. It has new skills, new spells, stuff like that. Everything with, all of the gazetteer information's in here. All the big key players with their stats and stuff like that. More adventures, all the cities and towns, all the other information, government, lore, politics, law. Republic of Darokin, Gazetteer 11. Still a $9.95 price point, and this came out in '89. Almost done, everybody. Got a couple more. Here's Gazetteer 12, the Golden Khan of Ethengar. And this is definitely all about the Mongols and Genghis Khan. So yeah, I love the themes that these books have, like I said. So this has everything, much like all the other ones. Your map, player's guide, the lore, all of that. Now with the Golden Khan of Ethengar, this was great because it added a class. It actually added the shaman. So the shaman was now a playable class. And then the shaman also had a bunch of new spells and a bunch of new skills also. And then, of course, it had, the spell lists and everything else, too. So, yeah, and you could take a shaman to level 36. So here's everything with the shaman. And new spells and stuff like that. So, yeah, really cool. Yep. And then you could actually make like I believe you can make a magic user. I think it was maybe called a Wokani. Let's see if I could find it. Yeah, you could take the Ethengar characters, the Ethengar race, and put it on top of the 4 core classes again. So yeah, you could do that. So that's, all about the Mongols and Genghis Khan and stuff like that. So Gazetteer 12, the Golden Khan of Ethengar. That was a good one. Now here's one that a lot of people would like. This is the Shadow Elves, and this is Gazetteer 13. And Gazetteer 13, this is all about the Shadow Elves call them drow, call them dark elves, call them whatever you want, but this is like some of the first renditions of them. And, it tells all about the broken lands and stuff. And which there's a lot of there's a huge Underdark theme too, even though this isn't called the Underdark. There's a lot of, and you can see with the map, here's everything that's underground. Because this is where, this is where the Shadow Elves were. Sort of like a theme, huh? Like Menza Baronzon before it's Menza Baronzon. So, yeah. Gazatteer 13, the Shadow Elves. So, you could play all of the core classes again with the core classes from, the beginner box set. And then there was a new class called the Shadow Elf class, which the Shadow Elf, from what I remember, the Shadow Elf was like a pure Dark Elf magic user. So there was no more fighting. There was no more elf. You were called a Shadow Elf magic user. And then then there was a Shadow Elf shaman as well, I remember. So you could be a new Shadow Elf magic user, a Shadow Elf shaman. There was a bunch of Dark Elf or Shadow Elf skills, a bunch of new magic. And then the Gazetteer book has everything that the other Gazetteer books have, including a bunch of adventures. And it actually has a bunch of the fauna too, like a lot of the Underdarks, like mushrooms and other stuff like that. So, and then it tells you what you can do with it and stuff, which is pretty cool. So there's like a lot of different fungus, lava fish, memory gourds, skitterlings, what you can do with ingredients that you can basically butcher from a giant slug or bats and stuff like that. So kind of added a lot to the alchemist skill. So yeah, pretty cool. So that's the underworld part of the Gazatteer. The Shadow Elves, Gazatteer 13. This is a good one too. This was they had a lot come out in 1989 and 90, but that's when they wrapped it up. And last but not least, this was the last one that I bought. This was the price went up. It was $10.95, but this is the final Gazatteer. It's Gazatteer 14. And this is the Atruaghin Clans. And this is still shrink wrapped. I never opened it up. And I'm not going to open it up. I've had a couple people tell me that they wouldn't recommend opening up. But it has everything else. But I did buy the PDF. You can buy all of these PDFs on RPG Drive-Thru. And you can get all of these Gazatteer PDFs. I got this when it was on sale during like Black Friday or something. It was like $3.99. So yeah, it was $3.99. But that was for the PDF. But I paid $10.95 for this. It's probably worth more now, but yeah. But anyway, this is like Native American type of theme. So I thought, when I was looking at the PDF, I'm like, okay, this is United States Manifest Destiny, basically. And how the clans are fighting with each other and the other, all of the other parts of the world are kind of encroaching on their area and stuff. You can make an Atruaghin core class, like you can make an Atruaghin cleric, etc., cleric, fighter, user, magic user, thief. There's new skills, there's new spells, just like all the other Gazetteers. There's a map, and there is a new class. I think it was called the Shamani, and the Shamani was like a hybrid of the magic user cleric. So the Shamani got magic user and cleric spells, which was actually really cool. And there was a whole bunch of new Atruaghin skills and spells. Of course, because it went with the Shamani class. So, very good. But yeah, all of these Gazetteers, I just absolutely love. And this is definitely by far my favorite line of any D&D books. I mean, I love this stuff. And like I said, it all started with GAZ 1, the Grand Duchy of Kerameikos. I mean, that's where it all started. That tractor beam just sucked me in, man. I couldn't stop reading about the known world at that point. And I may even, what do you guys think? Down in the comments section below, do you guys think I should take these 2 trail maps to a frame store and to see if they could take these, flatten them out, and put them in a frame and piece them together? Wouldn't that be awesome to have on a wall? Oh my goodness, where would I... This map would be, like I said, in a frame. It would be like a 6-foot by 12-foot picture frame. I don't even know if they could do it, but probably tear down my wall. So there you go, everybody. That is the complete Gazetteer series for basic Dungeons and Dragons. I love this. This is my favorite. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope you guys enjoyed the stories. And if you want to tell me what Gazetteer books you have, let me know down in the comments section. And let me know how, and what you guys thought of the Gazetteers. Were you guys a fan of the Gazetteer series? I want to know. So thanks, everybody, for watching this video. Sorry it was a long one. But there's such a great amount of content, like 1,500 pages of Gazetteer content. Man, this is so good. So anyways, everybody, thank you guys for watching. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and until next video, happy gaming, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.